She sat alone at a restaurant table, dressed beautifully, full of hope, waiting for a man who promised to show up. Minutes turned to hours, and with every tick of the clock, her smile faded. Everyone stared, but no one cared. Until suddenly, a stranger walked in, holding the hand of a little girl, and in that single moment, her life changed forever. She didn't know his name, or that he was a billionaire CEO. She only knew one thing for the first time in years. Someone saw her. This isn't just a story about heartbreak. It's about kindness, destiny, and the miracle that happens when love shows up when you least expect it. She checked her phone again. No new messages, just silence, and the sound of her own heartbeat echoing in her chest. Lena sat near the corner window of a small, elegant restaurant, the kind of place she hadn't visited since before the accident. The warm lights reflected off the polished silverware, and the faint music played softly in the background. Couples laughed, glasses clinked, and life around her felt like a scene from a movie, one she was no longer part of. She adjusted the wheels of her chair nervously, smoothing the edge of her light blue dress. Her hands trembled slightly. What if he doesn't come? She wondered. Then she shook her head and whispered to herself, No, Ryan seemed different. They had talked for weeks online. He'd said all the right things, that he admired her courage, that he didn't care about her being paralyzed, that beauty was about the heart, not the body. She wanted to believe it. For the first time in years, she had allowed herself to hope again. 5 minutes passed. Then 10. The waiter came by with a polite smile. Would you like to order something while you wait, ma'am? Lena forced a smile back. Not yet, thank you. He'll be here soon. The waiter nodded and walked away. Another 20 minutes slipped by. Her phone buzzed. Her heart jumped. But it was just a delivery notification. No message from Ryan. No call. The people at nearby tables began to glance over, some with pity, others with curiosity. Lena pretended not to notice, but her throat tightened. Her reflection in the window showed a brave woman trying not to cry. Finally, after nearly an hour, she accepted what she didn't want to believe. He wasn't coming. She sighed deeply, blinking back tears. Her chest felt heavy, her stomach hollow. She picked up her purse and whispered under her breath, Of course he wouldn't show up. Why would he? Just as she began to turn her wheelchair toward the exit, a gentle voice came from behind her. Excuse me, are you okay? She froze. Slowly, she turned her head and saw a tall man standing beside a little girl clutching a teddy bear. In that instant, she had no idea that this stranger was about to change her life forever. Lena turned around, her eyes still glistening with unshed tears. Standing behind her was a tall man in his late 30s, neatly dressed in a dark suit, his presence calm and commanding, yet warm. Beside him stood a little girl, maybe 6 years old, holding a small teddy bear that looked as loved as it was worn. The man smiled gently. I'm sorry if I startled you, he said softly. I just noticed you've been sitting here alone for quite a while. Lena hesitated. Oh, I'm fine, she said quickly, wiping at her eyes before they could betray her emotions. Just waiting for someone? The little girl looked up at her father, then at Lena. Her eyes were big and curious. Daddy, she whispered loudly, why does she look sad? Lena couldn't help but laugh through her embarrassment. I'm not sad, sweetheart, she said softly, forcing another smile, but the man could see through it. There was a quiet pain behind her brave face, the kind of pain only someone who's been disappointed too many times could hide so perfectly. Would you mind if we sit here for a bit? He asked politely. My daughter and I were about to have dinner, and she insists we shouldn't eat alone. The little girl nodded eagerly. Please? Daddy says food tastes better when you share. Lena looked at them, unsure. A part of her wanted to say, Noto, roll away, disappear, and forget this night ever happened. But another part, the part that still believed in kindness, whispered, Why not? All right, Lena said quietly. I'd like that. They moved to the same table, the waiter quickly bringing an extra chair for Emma's teddy bear, making the little girl giggle. For the first time that evening, Lena smiled a real smile. The little girl, whose name was Emma, chatted endlessly about her school, her favorite cartoons, and how her dad always burned pancakes. Daniel, that was the man's name, listened to Lena with genuine interest, never once letting his gaze fall to her wheelchair. He treated her like anyone else, normal, equal, important. And as laughter slowly replaced the silence that once filled her heart, Lena realized something she hadn't felt in a very long time. She didn't feel invisible anymore. The dinner that started as a coincidence soon felt like fate. As the plates arrived, pasta for Lena, grilled chicken for Daniel, and fries with ketchup for little Emma, the table filled with warmth and laughter. Emma talked non-stop, and Lena found herself laughing more than she had in months. The little girl's innocence had a way of melting away every wall Lena had built around her heart. So, Miss Lena, Emma said, eyes wide, why do you have wheels instead of legs? Daniel looked horrified. Emma, he scolded gently. That's not polite, but Lena only smiled. It's okay, she said softly. I had an accident a few years ago. My legs don't work anymore, but these wheels take me everywhere I want to go. Emma grinned. That's so cool. It's like you have superpowers. Lena laughed, really laughed. The sound surprised even her. Daniel watched quietly, admiring how she handled it with such grace. You're incredible, he said after a pause. Most people would have avoided that question or gotten upset. Lena shrugged lightly. Life doesn't stop just because something breaks. You learn to roll with it literally, he chuckled. I like that attitude. They talked about everything: books, travel, food. Daniel shared funny stories about being a single father and trying to braid Emma's hair. He never once made her feel pitied. He saw her as a woman, not a tragedy. When the bill came, Lena reached for her purse. Let's split it, she said. Daniel shook his head. No way, you've already made our evening special. This one's on me. Then I'll get dessert next time, she replied, before realizing what she just said. Next time? Daniel smiled warmly. I'd like that. Outside, the night air was cool. Daniel walked beside her as Emma held her teddy bear tight. A sleek black car waited at the curb, the driver stepping out to open the door. You must be someone important, Lena teased. Daniel smiled, slightly embarrassed. Just a businessman, trying to be a better dad. As he helped her into her wheelchair-accessible cab, he handed her a small card. If you ever need help or just want to talk, call me. She glanced down at the card. The letters were bold and clear. Daniel Gray, CEO, Graytech Industries. Her heart skipped a beat. For days after that night, Lena couldn't stop thinking about Daniel, the kind, confident man who treated her like she mattered. But she quickly reminded herself, he's a CEO, Lena. A man like him doesn't belong in your world. Still, when her phone buzzed 3 days later with a message that read, Emma's been asking when she can see her new friend again. Coffee this weekend? She couldn't help but smile. That weekend, they met at a cozy cafe near the park. Emma ran straight to her, wrapping her tiny arms around Lena's waist. I missed you, she said cheerfully. Daniel stood a few feet away, watching the scene with a smile that could melt anyone's heart. Seems like you've been officially adopted, he joked. From that day forward, they began to meet regularly, sometimes for coffee, sometimes at the park, sometimes just for a short evening walk. Emma would chatter endlessly while Daniel and Lena shared quiet glances filled with unspoken words. He admired her strength, her wit, her resilience. She admired his gentleness and the way he balanced power with kindness. One afternoon, while they sat beneath a large oak tree watching Emma play, Daniel finally spoke what had been on his mind. You know, he began softly, after my wife passed away, I promised myself I'd focus only on my work and my daughter. I didn't think I'd ever connect with anyone again." Lena looked at him, touched. "I get that," she said. "After my accident, I stopped believing I could ever be seen again. People look at me, but they don't see me anymore." Daniel turned toward her. "I see you, Lena. I see the woman who smiles through pain, who refuses to give up. You're stronger than most people I know." Her breath caught for a moment. No one had ever said words like that to her, not since before the accident. A warm silence lingered between them, broken only by Emma's laughter in the distance. And for the first time in years, Lena felt something she had long forgotten: hope. She wasn't just surviving anymore. She was starting to live again. Exactly 1 year later, Lena found herself in front of the same restaurant where everything had begun. But this time, things were different. No nervous hands, no heavy silence, no fear of being left behind. Beside her stood Daniel, his hand gently resting on her shoulder, and little Emma, skipping happily while holding a small bouquet of white lilies. "Why this place again, Daddy?" Emma asked, tilting her head. Daniel smiled down at her. "Because this is where we met your favorite person in the whole world." Emma grinned and looked up at Lena. "That's you!" Lena laughed, her heart full. "You're too sweet, Emma." The same waiter from that night recognized her instantly. His eyes widened in pleasant surprise. "Good evening, miss," he said warmly. "Table for 3? "Yes," Daniel replied. "The same one, please." As they sat at the familiar corner table, Lena glanced around. The same soft music, the same gentle lighting, but everything felt new. This time, she wasn't alone. She wasn't the woman waiting for someone who never came. She was the woman who'd been found by someone who chose to stay. They laughed, shared stories, and when dessert arrived, Emma leaned across the table and whispered, "Can I tell her the secret now, Daddy?" Daniel chuckled. "Go ahead." Emma's eyes sparkled as she turned to Lena. "Daddy says he's going to marry you one day." Lena gasped softly, her cheeks turning pink. "Oh, really?" she said, looking at Daniel with playful disbelief. Daniel reached across the table, taking her hand gently. "Only if she says yes." For a moment, time stood still. The restaurant faded into a blur. All she could see was him. The man who showed her that broken hearts can heal and that love doesn't need perfection, just honesty. Tears welled in her eyes as she whispered, "Yes," Emma squealed, clapping her hands, and the entire restaurant smiled as if love itself filled the air. And in that moment, Lena realized something beautiful. Sometimes, being left alone isn't the end of your story. It's just the universe clearing the path for the one who's meant to walk beside you forever.